I was sitting in a packed seminar room where my fitness coach and the man I had trusted with my deepest insecurities for 2 years pulled up a before and after photo of me on the projector. "This is Sarah," he announced to the crowd of fitness enthusiasts. "My greatest success story." As he basked in their applause, I clutched the folder of evidence in my lap. Screenshots, receipts, testimonies from other women he'd manipulated. He had no idea I was about to destroy everything he'd built. It started 3 years ago on a Tuesday morning in January. The gym was nearly empty at 5:30 a.m, just how I liked it. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as I moved through my usual routine, trying to ignore the reflection in the mirror. I'd gained weight after my divorce, and despite 6 months of consistent workouts, I wasn't seeing the results I'd hoped for. "You're doing it wrong," a voice said behind me. I turned to see Mark, one of the gym's personal trainers. He was tall, with the kind of muscles that seemed designed specifically for tight t-shirts. His smile was perfect. Too perfect, I'd later realize. "Excuse me?" I said, feeling immediately defensive. "Sorry, that came out wrong." He laughed, running a hand through his expertly styled hair. "I just mean your form could use some adjustments. Mind if I show you?" That was how it began. Small corrections to my technique, a free session to see if we click, and suddenly I was signing up for a 6-month personal training package. It wasn't cheap, but Mark had a way of making me believe it was necessary. "You need someone who understands your specific challenges," he told me during our first official session. "Someone who can customize a plan just for you." I nodded eagerly, desperate to believe him. When he asked about my lifestyle, my eating habits, my stress levels, I told him everything. About my ex-husband who left me for his younger co-worker. About my stressful job in marketing. About the emotional eating that had become my coping mechanism. "I'm going to help you take back control," Mark promised, his hand on my shoulder. "But you have to trust me completely." And I did. For months, I followed his program religiously. 2 personal training sessions a week, plus the meal plan he designed. I lost some weight, gained some muscle, and started feeling better about myself. Mark was always encouraging, always pushing me to do more, be more. "You're making progress," he'd say. "But we could accelerate things with some supplements." The supplements weren't part of the original package. They were an additional cost, but Mark assured me they were essential. "This is what all my successful clients use," he said, showing me before and after photos on his phone. I hesitated only briefly before handing over my credit card. The supplements arrived in plain packaging with Mark's personal brand logo on them. No ingredient list, no manufacturer information. "They're custom formulated," he explained when I asked. "Proprietary blend." 6 months turned into a year. 1 package turned into 3. The supplements expanded to include pre-workout powders, protein shakes, fat burners, and hormone balancers. My monthly fitness budget had tripled, but Mark always had a reason why each new product was essential to my progress. "Your metabolism is unique," he'd say. "You need special support that off-the-shelf products just can't provide." The first real warning sign came when I developed a persistent rash on my arms. My doctor asked about any new supplements I was taking. "Could you bring them in so I can see the ingredients?" she asked. When I mentioned this to Mark during our next session, his reaction was immediate and intense. "Doctors don't understand fitness nutrition," he said, his voice harder than I'd ever heard it. "They'll just tell you to stop taking everything, and then you'll lose all your progress." "But shouldn't there be an ingredient list?" I asked. "Look," he sighed, his patience clearly wearing thin. "These are professional-grade supplements. The formulations are protected. If you don't trust me after all this time..." He let the sentence hang there, making me feel guilty for questioning him. I apologized and promised to stick with the program, but something had shifted. I started noticing how Mark treated his other clients, particularly women who were new to the gym. The same concerned approach, the same hand on the shoulder, the same promises of customized solutions that only he could provide. One morning, I arrived earlier than usual for my session and overheard Mark on the phone in the empty staff room. "Yeah, got another one signed up for the premium package," he was saying. "Divorced, insecure about her body, perfect for the emotional leverage upsell. I'll have her on the full supplement stack within 2 months." I froze outside the door, my water bottle halfway to my lips. "The markup is insane." he continued, laughing. Cost me maybe $15 to make, selling for $150, and they never question it because they're desperate. My face burned with humiliation. I backed away quietly and went to the locker room, locking myself in a bathroom stall until I could control my breathing. When Mark found me 10 minutes later, I was warming up on the treadmill as if nothing had happened. Ready for a killer session? He asked, with that same perfect smile. Always, I replied, returning the smile while something cold and determined settled in my stomach. That night, I laid out all the supplements I'd purchased from Mark over the past year. Nearly $4,000 worth of powders, pills, and liquids with no ingredient lists. I took photos of everything, including the receipts I'd saved for tax purposes. Then I started researching. I found a small online forum where former clients of various personal trainers shared experiences. I created an anonymous account and posted about Mark, describing the supplements and his methods without naming him directly. The responses came quickly. Sounds like the guy I used to train with in Boston. My trainer in Phoenix did the exact same thing. Check the BBB complaints. This is a known scam. I spent hours following leads, documenting everything. Mark, it turned out, had worked at gyms in 4 different states over the past 6 years. He'd leave whenever complaints started piling up, moving to a new city with a new name for his exclusive supplement line. The next day, I approached my session with Mark differently. I asked innocent questions about his background, his certifications, his other success stories. He loved talking about himself, and I recorded everything on my phone in my pocket. So where did you train before coming here? I asked between sets. Oh, just a small boutique gym in Colorado, he said vaguely. Nothing you would have heard of. Lie. According to my research, he'd been at a chain gym in Florida before moving here. And your nutrition certification is from International Sports Nutrition Board, he said confidently. Very exclusive program. Another lie. No such board existed. For the next few weeks, I became the perfect client. I purchased a new round of supplements without question. I praised his methods to other gym members when he was within earshot. I even referred a friend to him, a friend who was fully briefed on what I was doing and agreed to help gather evidence. All the while, I was building my case. I joined private Facebook groups where his former clients gathered to share stories. I collected screenshots of his changing business names, his pattern of moving whenever complaints surfaced. I even managed to get one of his supplements analysed at a lab through a contact at my doctor's office. The results were infuriating, but not surprising. The proprietary blends were mostly creatine, caffeine, and sugar, with some herbal fillers thrown in. Nothing custom, nothing special, nothing worth even a fraction of what he was charging. 3 months into my investigation, Mark announced he was hosting a fitness seminar at the gym. Transformation Mastery, The Secrets to Lasting Change was the title, and tickets were $250 per person. You should come, Manayada, he told me during a session. I want to feature your progress as part of my presentation. Really? I asked, feigning excitement. That would be amazing. Of course, he said, squeezing my shoulder. You're my star pupil. I've been documenting your journey since day one. That was news to me. You have before pictures? Oh yeah, he said casually. I take them of all my clients for my records. I'll use yours in the presentation. They're really inspiring. I didn't remember consenting to this, but I just smiled and nodded. I'd be honoured. A week before the seminar, Mark posted a promotional image on his Instagram and Facebook pages. It was a grid of before and after photos of his clients, with mine prominently featured in the centre. Real results from real clients, the caption read, followed by details about the upcoming seminar. I stared at my before picture in shock. It wasn't from our first session together. It was a personal photo from my Facebook page, one I'd posted after my divorce, where I was clearly emotional and not at my best. He'd somehow found it, stolen it, and was now using it without my permission. The comments under the post were full of praise for Mark and his methods. You're a miracle worker. How do I sign up? Take my money. One comment caught my eye. Is that Sarah from the Tuesday morning sessions? Amazing progress. Mark had replied. Yes, Sarah came to me desperate and unhealthy. Classic case of emotional eating and poor self-image after her divorce. Now she's my greatest success story. I felt physically ill reading his casual exposure of my personal information. This wasn't just about scammy supplements anymore. This was a violation of my privacy, my trust, and my dignity. I took screenshots of everything, added them to my growing file, and made a decision. The seminar would be where it all ended. The day of the event arrived. The gym's largest studio had been transformed with rows of chairs, a small stage, and a large projection screen. About 50 people had paid the $250 fee to attend, a mix of current clients, prospective clients, and a few aspiring personal trainers hoping to learn Mark's secrets. I arrived early, dressed in my best workout gear, hair and makeup done, as if I was genuinely excited to be featured as a success story. Mark Riel greeted me with his perfect smile and a too-long hug. "There's my star," he announced loudly enough for others to hear. "Front row seat for you." I thanked him and took my place, the folder of evidence in my lap. My friend Lisa, who had been working with Mark as part of my investigation, sat beside me. In the back row, barely noticeable among the crowd, sat two other women I'd connected with through the online forums, former clients of Mark's from other cities who had flown in specifically for this moment. The seminar began with Mark sharing his journey as a fitness professional, a completely fabricated story about overcoming his own health struggles and finding his calling helping others. He moved on to explaining his proprietary methods for transformation, which were just basic fitness principles, dressed up in pseudo-scientific language. Then came the client testimonials. Mark clicked to a slide with my before and after photos enlarged on the screen. "This is Sarah," he said, gesturing toward me in the front row. Sarah came to me at her lowest point. Overweight, depressed after her divorce, no confidence, no self-control with food. The room turned to look at me. I maintained a pleasant expression while my insides burned with anger. Through my exclusive training program and custom nutritional supplements, Sarah transformed not just her body, but her entire life. "Stand up, Sarah. Let everyone see the new you." I stood smiling and gave a little wave to the audience, who applauded enthusiastically. "Sarah is proof that my methods work," Mark continued as I sat back down. "And today I'm going to share those exact methods with all of you." He clicked to the next slide, which detailed his various training packages and supplement lines, all at special seminar pricing that was still ridiculously inflated. "But before I go into the details," Mark said, "I'd like to invite Sarah to share her experience in her own words." Sarah? This wasn't planned. He was putting me on the spot, likely expecting me to gush about his amazing program. It was a perfect opportunity. I stood again, folder in hand, and walked to the front of the room. Mark handed me the microphone with that same confident smile, completely unaware of what was about to happen. "Thank you, Mark," I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "I do have quite a story to share about my experience." I turned to face the audience. "For the past year, I've been documenting my journey with Mark and his supplements, but not in the way he thinks." Mark's smile faltered slightly. I opened my folder and held up a lab report. This is an analysis of Mark's proprietary fat burner supplement that he sells for $150 per month. According to the lab, it contains approximately $8 worth of basic ingredients available at any supplement store, plus potentially harmful stimulants not listed anywhere on the package. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Mark stepped toward me, reaching for the microphone. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." I stepped away from him. "No misunderstanding, Mark. Or should I say Michael Roberts from Tampa? Or Matt Reynolds from Denver?" I clicked to the next slide on his presentation remote, replacing his sales pitch with a collection of screenshots I prepared and loaded onto a USB drive before the seminar. Business listings with his various aliases, complaints filed with consumer protection agencies, and social media posts warning others about his scams. "You've been running this same con for years," I continued, "moving from city to city when too many people catch on, changing your name, but never changing your methods." Mark's face had drained of colour. "This is slander," he sputtered. "I'll sue you for this." "Truth is an absolute defence against slander," I replied calmly, "and I have nothing but truth here." I clicked to the next slide. screenshots of his social media posts, sharing my personal information without consent. You stole private photos from my social media. You shared details about my divorce and emotional state without permission. You violated my privacy to promote your business. I turned back to the audience. And I'm not the only one. Lisa? My friend stood up from the front row. Mark told me I had a hormonal imbalance that only his supplements could fix. He charged me $2,000 for 3 months of pills that a pharmacist later identified as basic multivitamins with added caffeine. Anyone else? I asked. From the back of the room, the 2 women I'd connected with online stood up. I'm Jennifer from Boston, one said. Mark was Michael when I knew him. Same scam, same supplements, same violation of trust. I'm Alicia from Phoenix, said the other. He was Matt there. He told me I'd never succeed without him, that my body was problematic and needed his special help. By now, people were shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Some were taking out their phones, either to record what was happening or to look up Mark's various aliases online. You can't do this, Mark hissed at me, his perfect facade cracking completely. You signed a client agreement. I pulled out a copy of the agreement. Yes, I did, and nowhere does it state that you can use my personal information or images without explicit consent. Nowhere does it say you can misrepresent the contents of supplements you sell.
And nowhere does it protect you from the consequences of fraud. I addressed the audience again. I've filed formal complaints with the State Attorney General's Office, the Better Business Bureau, and the Federal Trade Commission. I provided them with all the evidence I'm showing you today, plus statements from former clients across 4 states. Mark lunged for the microphone, but I stepped back. His face was contorted with anger now, the charming trainer persona completely gone.
You ungrateful bitch, he spat, loud enough for everyone to hear, even without the microphone. I made you look better than you ever could have on your own. The room went silent. His words hung in the air, confirming everything I'd just revealed about his character and methods. A man in the 3rd row stood up. I want my money back. For the seminar and the consultation I had last week. Me too, said another attendee. Suddenly, multiple people were standing, demanding refunds, deleting Mark's contact information from their phones, gathering their things to leave. Mark looked around desperately. This is all a misunderstanding. He tried again, his voice cracking. Sarah has personal issues that are affecting her perception. We all heard what you just called her, someone interrupted. And we can all see the evidence. People began walking out. Mark turned to me, his face a mixture of rage and panic. You've ruined everything, he whispered. No, Mark, I replied quietly. You did that yourself. I set the microphone down on a chair and walked out, head high, followed by Lisa, Jennifer, and Alicia. Behind us, the seminar collapsed into chaos as attendees demanded refunds, and Mark tried desperately to regain control of the situation. In the parking lot, the 4 of us hugged. That was incredible, Jennifer said. I've been waiting 3 years to see him face consequences. What happens now? Lisa asked. Now we wait, I said. The complaints are filed. The gym management has copies of everything. His business won't survive this. I was right. Within a week, Mark's social media accounts had been deleted. His website disappeared. The gym terminated his contract after multiple clients came forward with similar stories. 2 weeks later, I received an email from a gym in a neighbouring city warning about a trainer matching Mark's description who had applied for a position there using yet another name. I forwarded them all my evidence. The supplements I'd paid thousands for went into the trash. I found a new gym across town, one where I could work out in peace without the weight of manipulation and lies. 6 months later, I received notice that the Attorney General's office was pursuing a case against Mark based on the evidence I and others had provided. They asked if I would be willing to testify if the case went to trial. Absolutely, I told them. On the 1-year anniversary of the seminar showdown, I met Lisa, Jennifer, and Alicia for coffee. We'd stayed in touch, bonded by our shared experience and determination to warn others about trainers like Mark. I started lifting heavier weights, Jennifer told us, with a certified trainer who doesn't try to sell me anything. I'm running my first half marathon next month, Alicia added. Lisa smiled. I'm teaching a body-positive yoga class at the community centre. They looked at me expectantly. I'm good, I said, and meant it. I've reclaimed my workout routine, my diet, my body image, all the things Mark tried to control. What I didn't tell them was that I'd also started a website. Nothing fancy, just a simple platform where people could share stories about fitness scams and find resources for legitimate nutrition and exercise information. It had started small but was growing steadily, with visitors from across the country. Later that evening, I received an email notification. Someone had submitted a news story to the website about a charismatic trainer in Seattle with a line of exclusive supplements and a habit of using clients' personal information in his marketing. The name wasn't Mark, of course, but the methods were identical. I reached for my phone and began typing a response, offering resources, support, and the benefit of my experience. Another woman was finding her voice, preparing to stand up for herself, just as I had done. The betrayal had cost me money, time, and trust, but what I'd gained was more valuable: confidence in my own judgment, strength in my own voice, and the knowledge that I could help others avoid the same trap. Mark had promised transformation, and in the end, he delivered. Just not in the way he intended. I had transformed from a trusting client to an informed advocate, from a victim to a voice of warning, and that was worth every penny of the money he'd taken from me. I closed my laptop and looked at my reflection in the window. No before and after needed, just me, on my own terms, finally free.